Boom. So, with 2020 nearly done, it's Christmas, so I have to do my little write-up for all the songs. So instead of doing like write-ups, I'm just gonna do a video instead, so you can say TLDW instead of TLDR. I will, however, be picking an Elite Four. Not that Elite Four, that's Pokemon Elite. You know what? We'll just temporarily have the Pokemon Elite Four down there, and then as we encounter them through going through this alphabetically, we'll fill them with the correct slot. So let's jump in. Ether Realm, Redneck Vikings from Hell. Number one, that is a great name. I'm immediately thinking of Biker Mice from Mars because it's just completely irrelevant shit put together. I don't know what Redneck Vikings or Hell have to do with each other. Anyway, it's actually alright, even though I thought the album's name was stupid as fuck. TMHC actually ended up being pretty interesting. I generally advise checking out the whole album, but it's wasn't one of the highlights, but I'd still recommend it regardless. After Pain, these wonderful guys from Argentina. Let's get a nice picture of them. Fernando is a little bit too intimidating. Yeah, let's make him a little more kawaii. Yeah, all right, that's a lot better. As you can see, Fernando Kuhn is my boy in this band, and I have to mention it because like Flying Dreams, Misery, Rage. I mean, really, the whole album actually is pretty interesting. I didn't like the ballad, but let's be real, I just generally don't like ballads. In general, most bands don't do them correctly, and I still skip this one every time. But I'd still definitely recommend it. Check it out. Flying Dreams first. If you don't like that, keep listening. I'm going to make you listen to the whole album anyway. Do it. After Time, not to be confused with After Pain, kind of reminds me of what Leaves' Eyes would sound like if they were good and didn't have the two co-founders kind of getting a messy divorce, and then one get kicked out of the band and then not being told, but then they said it was a mutual breakup. And oh wow, I mean, power metal drama is just great. However, that doesn't mean that Leaves' Eyes is great. They still suck. They sucked before. After Time's The Farthest Shore. It's actually very good. The World We've Lost really hooked me. Battle of the Sea. Honestly, those two really stand out. I ended up putting The World We've Lost on repeat for a little bit. I discovered this very late in the year. Should have listened to it earlier, but definitely one of the better symphonic metal releases of this year. Ailstorm's Curse of the Crystal Coconut. I do not like Ailstorm. I don't know. It's dumb. But Wooden Leg has the greatest chorus ever. Let me let's look at some of the lyrics. Wooden leg, wooden leg. I have a wooden leg, wooden leg. Shakespeare couldn't have done it better. Boison Divine. This was a surprise for me. Lahalha. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. And they're like singing this Occitan, and some French stuff. Anyway, this was a surprise folk metal just out of nowhere. Lapella Pork. Libertat, Le Nouveau Fuck. I don't know how to pronounce these. I'm not going to try. Listen to the album. It's fantastic, folksy. Even though they have like banjo stuff, I'm like, banjo, what are you? No, I can get into this. I can definitely get into it. It's pretty amazing. Check it out, you fantastic French folk. Fuck. Brothers of Metal. I forgot this came out this year. I kind of liked their debut, but this is just very boring arena metal. I don't know why people think this is. How is Brothers of Metal popular? Oh my god. Anyway, I'm just going to skip over this, and you should too. Next is Burden of Life's Makeshift Conqueror. I don't even know what genre this is. They have the one song that really stuck out to me was Geist Blitz or Blitzergeist? Geist? Fuck. I don't know the song name, which should tell you it's still good though. It is very. Are they even allowed to? What are they? Bavaria. I don't know how far away from that is from Germany is because I'm an ignorant American, but I'll give them a pass. They're allowed to name that weird stuff. Anyway, it's a very good album. I'd still suggest checking it out. It's very proggy, there's melodeath elements. There's just a bunch of everything. So you probably are going to like one song, and if you don't, you're wrong. Next, we're going to talk about Seahorse. Nope, not that Seahorse. Nope, no. Caligula's Horse. Rise Radiant, actually a very strong release. It didn't actually get as much of attention as I thought. I do think it was a step down from their previous releases because I loved stuff like Graves or Cannon's Mouth, and I did sadly miss them at Prog Power, but they still had a very good follow-up release here. If you haven't heard of Caligula's Horse, what are you doing? Conception. I'm a big fan of Conception, although I'm not putting this in the Elite Four this year. I did very like it. She Dragoon stands out. By the Blues of Raven and Pigs. It's a very good release, very proggy, not super metal, a little bit more on the rock side, but ultimately you should check it out. Roy Khan's had a little bit of a regression, still does an incredible job as a vocalist. I actually have some surprises. A vocalist I hadn't heard before that really stood out to me this year. So we'll get to those when we eventually go through alphabetically. But Roy Khan, keep kicking ass, and please listen to Conception. Dark Forest, not to be confused with the Canadian Dark Forest, the self-labeled pagan Viking black metal band, or not to be confused with Black Forest Ham, which is delicious. Dark Forest is a oak, ash, and thorn. Actually, a very pleasant to listen to release, kind of folksy looking thing. It's they go very heavy on the folk elements, like they have long segments of just no percussion, acoustic stuff, and if that's your jam, definitely jump into it. Ultimately, there's a lot of long periods that feel, like I said, maybe a little drawn out and very building atmosphere, and that's fine. The highlights of the album, like the Forest Folk, really stand out, and ultimately it was still a very enjoyable release, and you should check it out, especially if you like folky. Delane, Apocalypse and Chill. Again, I forgot this came out this year. I'm going to be honest, I was expecting the absolute worst. I'm like, this is going to be such a shitty album. And actually it was pretty decent. Not a huge fan, didn't revisit it a lot, but I'm going to be honest, the bar was so low that I was impressed that they even released something I thought was passable. I don't even remember many of the song tracks and don't feel like looking them up again, so I guess I'm not really giving it a very good review here. Demons and Wizards 3. Literally just the Roman numeral 3, which probably took a lot of time and thought to put into it. Kind of as much time as thought as they did on most of the tracks of this album. Still wondering how they came up with 3. Like, did Hansi just go, well, it's our third album, yeah? Should we just name it 3? I can't do Hansi's voice. Or John Schaefer's voice. But Schaefer was probably like, yeah, that sounds good. Also, taxation is theft. That's just how I imagine the conversation going. Honestly, I don't know them very well, but from what I know of them, that just sounds like what a normal conversation would be. But I actually still thought this was a okay release, even though I was thinking, man, more Demons and Wizards, and I was let down. Honestly, the Diabolic, I'm like, this is pretty decent, and I didn't realize pretty decent was going to be some of the peaks in the album. I did enjoy Split and a few of the other. Ultimately, though, half the album's bad. Midas Disease was shit, and oh my god, just in general, Children of Cain went on for too long. It was a letdown. DGM's Tragic Separation was not sucky, though. Flesh and Blood actually really grabbed me initially when the single came out. And the whole album, I was expecting it to be just completely mind-blowing because I loved DGM's The Secret, and it didn't live up to those expectations, but it's still a good listen. Like I said, Flesh and Blood's a good song, but it's still a bit of a letdown. It suffers a bit from being very samey. If you've heard their older material and listen to this, you're going to go, oh, this sounds familiar, and I've a little problem with that, but it's not the worst, so still give it a spin. Eternal Boobs. Boobs Champion. Eternal Champion's Ravening Iron has boob. Eternal Champion, they're alright. I don't think I'm the target audience for this or something. I know that's a meme, but it was okay. I mean, I know people like, listen to the riffs, and I hear them. It's just, give me something more interesting, and nothing about it seems super fresh. The title track's fine. Ultimately, it was acceptable. The cover art's nice. Eternal Idol. Fabio, stop making more groups. Fuck. Falconers from a Dying Ember. I'm a huge Matthias Blad fan, so naturally I do love this album. Everything about it was very enjoyable. Like, the fast tracks are indeed fast. Their folksy tracks get very folksy. Their ballad goes full on ballad, not like a compromised power ballad. They're like, fuck the other instruments. Let's just make it so ballady. And I normally skip, like, I skip ballads all the time because fuck your ballad. I don't give a shit about your ballad. But in this case, we're going to make an exception. Matthias Blad does a great job delivering. It's the best track on the album. Thrust the Dagger Deep's great. Kings and Queens is great. Desert Dreams is great. It's a good album. Check it out. If you don't like it after you've checked it out, again, you're wrong. Fellowship debut. It's an EP. What I thought that we're doing albums. This is an EP. Fuck your rules. We're going to talk about it. Why? Because it's fucking amazing and Elite Four spot. Finally. I know we were going through all this. You're like, Jesus, he's just going to have the Pokemon Elite Four down there the whole time? Probably, but here's our first slot. This EP only has 3 songs, and I don't give a shit. Those 3 songs are better than most bands' 10. Fuck your album. This just wins. Glint is fucking amazing. The Matt Corey came out of nowhere as one of the best singers that I've heard in such a long time. It was refreshing to actually hear someone competent doing vocals, and it's such a good job. Glint, especially that post-chorus, I've always been worthy, is one of the best parts of the best part of this whole year musically. Hearts on the Hill is also great in the hours of wintertime. Everything about it's beautiful. All they did is deliver us 3 songs, and I cannot wait for more. Fellowship, you kick ass. And another Elite Four spot, boom, From the Depth, Moments. Never heard of them before, but I'm going to focus on one thing completely irrelevant to the tracks. Look at this guy. Do you see him? This is an Italian power metal group. This guy looks like the least Italian guy ever. I can't imagine this guy saying lasagna or spaghetti. That's all I don't know shit about Italian. So yeah, look at this guy. This guy looks like straight like he was imported from Texas to Italy. What's this guy's name? Hold on. That's a Raphael. That does not look like a Raphael to me. That looks like a Joe from Texas. We're gonna call him Joe from now on. That guy on the left, like, what's it? I don't get what that like. What are you doing with that facial hair? They're like coming up right to his lips. Just looks weird. And the other guy on the furthest on the left just looks like a straight up airbrush. I don't know what happened. His face has no texture. And the 2 guys on the right looks like they copy pasted and changed it a little. Like, can I copy your homework? I'll change it a little. They're the same guy, just slightly different. I don't know what's up with this band. Anyway, the album's amazing. They're not new, but yeah. Immortal Spread Your Fire is great. 10 Years is great. Just Ice. A Matter of Time. Just listen to this. You probably haven't because no one fucking has. But seriously, check this fucking shit out. It's good. Helium Prime's Question Everything. The biggest loss is they lost Sozos. But hey, can't be a disaster that was the long track of their past album. Even though they've got that really cringy chorus with Let's Hear It for the Human Computer. Oh my god, it's everything about it is so weird. It's not actually a bad album. The title track's actually really fucking catchy. The rest of the album is pretty humdrum though, but overall, if you like standard generic power metal, you'll probably like this anyway. Judicators, Let There Be Nothing is perfectly acceptable. Let There Be Light was actually amazing, but it kind of doesn't really hit that high point anytime later in the album. It was nice that they did a song without a chorus. That's always fun. But Autumn of Souls is still enjoyable. I did like Gloria. It's a pretty decent album. I would still suggest checking it out, unless you hate John Yelland for his very conservative pushing agenda and his obsession with performing with his feet visible. And honestly, it's a big loss for him. He could have made an OnlyFans. OnlyFans, Yelland feet. Look at that. How many people want to see it? You've given away the game now that your feet are publicly available. Shame on you, John. Oh, Leaves' Eyes did release something this year. Yeah, I'm just going to skip it. Majestica, Christmas Carol. Well, certainly doesn't live up to Sabadoo's very Polish Christmas, but I actually really love this album. Listen to it. If you like Christmas music and power metal, this is what you want. If you don't like Christmas music, fuck you. Still listen to this. Night Wishes, Human, pipe, nature. I used to think maybe Thomas will slow his roll on this pretentiousness, but I think I should just never be surprised ever again by Thomas. I thought Noise was a pretty decent song. I liked it, even though it was, Game of Thrones ripoff. That was the highlight of the album, and everything else is just boring. The most pretentious disc, too, which was just everything about it, like all the wonders that adorn the world. Like you're expecting some great shit, but it's just this most boring ass background elevator music. It's just not fun to listen to. The whole thing was just a disaster. Go back to what you used to do. This is just a bunch of bullshit. Paralydium, Worlds Beyond. Oh, boom! Elite Four, 3rd spot. Never heard of them before this year. I know, I'm like giving these to people I hadn't heard of before, and I don't give a shit. This is the 3rd elite spot. This album is just fantastic prog. I love Synergy was just, I had to put that on repeat. Really, actually, I put the whole album on repeat. It's one of those sometimes where I'm like, oh man, Glint, this song needs to be on repeat. Sometimes I'm like, dude, every track ends up being just repeatedly good, and you can hear some like Symphony X influence, and I love Symphony X, but this really feels like kind of like an old throwback Symphony X, and I just couldn't get enough of it. It sounds similar to, that DGM sound and Symphony X, but kind of a really nice blend that still sounded fresh. It's really hard to find that nowadays. Everything sounds so samey, so it was really nice to have a break from that. So Paralydium, keep kicking ass. Persuader, Necromancy, I liked it. And now if you haven't heard Persuader before, you may listen and go, wait, is this Hansi? No, this is actually a Swedish clone of Hansi, who's put in Persuader. Actually, if you haven't heard Persuader before, When Eden Burns and Evolution Purgatory, both very good albums. Necromancy actually is very good. Curse Unbound stuck out. The whole album's good, even though it's not too many tracks. A couple of them are pretty long, but they don't feel long. I'd highly suggest checking it out. This is actually what power metal should sound like, not that arena metal bullshit. Serenity, The Last Night. So, I'm the number one Serenity fanboy in the world, objectively and scientifically proven. And I love Fallen Sanctuary. I think it's great. I do think their debut is very strong. Codex Atlanticus, fantastic. So naturally, when Lionheart came out, I was a bit upset because I'm like, some of this is pretty decent, but man, some of it's just I couldn't get into. And I'm like, you know what? They're allowed to have a dud. They just released an album. Maybe putting them back-to-back years was too ambitious. I cannot measure in words the level of disappointment I have at this album existing. Every song felt the same. It was just terrible, monotonous. It's not performed poorly. It's not sung poorly. It's not mixed poorly. So you think, wow, with all that stuff that's well done, what's missing? Right, the songwriting. It's the most boring shit I've ever heard, and I'm sad that Georg even decided that, signed off on it and said, yeah, that sounds good. That's fucking embarrassing. Next, after that shit show, we have Seven Spires Emerald Seas. Their sophomore album is amazing, and final Elite Four spot. Why? Because they're amazing. Their songs sound fucking sparkly. Every crest was amazing. Ghost of a Dream, it really hooked me instantly. But the weird part is, Ghost of a Dream, despite hooking me, I'm like, oh my god, this is good. I did not realize they are going to have a trio of songs back-to-back that were just going to completely blow my mind. Every Crest, Unmapped Darkness, Succumb, 3 songs in a row, and your mind just gets blown like, holy shit, this is the way symphonic power needs to sound. Fantastic vocalists, well-written songs. They have some themes that go out to the whole album that, yeah, I know, they're like, well, they're repeating some bits. No, they're just reprises. It's good. Silvery Moon's good. Bury You, I love it. The weird part is, it's got 13 tracks, but there's just a little bit of instrumentals in between, a couple of them. Falls just under 50 minutes. It's such a good listen. It is the album of the year. I love it. You should check it out. They really need more attention. Just came out, it feels forever ago, but it was actually February this year. I swear, this year's the longest year in the history of years. But holy shit, check this out. Seven Spires blows away everything else this year, and if you think there's a better album, you're wrong. Next is Unleash the Archers, Abyss, which I thought was a step up. I did like Faster Than Light. I thought Apex was fine, and man, the worst part about Unleash the Archers is the fan base, man. What is it? Those boys that love Britney so much. Britney, that doesn't sound catchy. Slays simps. There, we're going to call them that. The fucking worst. Who the fuck labels themselves Britney Slays? Your last name is Hayes. You're Britney Hayes. Anyway, she's actually a great singer. She's a nice person. Seems like a great person, but holy fuck, her fan base is the most trash group of people. Oh my god, I cannot stand them. Just you cannot critique them at all, and they're completely growing out of proportion, which is great for them because it's glad to see some group come out of nothing and then completely explode. But the album was decent to listen to. I guess the problem is I suddenly realized months later, like, oh, you haven't really listened to it again. Like, you should revisit it. And I'm just really not compelled to ever give it any attention again. So, although it was fun for a few listens, just like Apex, it's really just not compelling songwriting, and I kind of find it a little boring and don't revisit it. And last and least, Victorious, Space Ninjas from Hell. Unlike the charms of Redneck Vikings from Hell, Space Ninjas from Hell was garbage trash. not only does it sound like copy paste generic power metal that sounds completely soulless and uninspired, but they actually, oh my god, they are completely disregard for like Japanese culture. It's just they've put it through their foreign straw and then had their own take on it. I don't even know what foreign straw means, but you get the idea. And now they've completely appropriated it to what they think. Like they're talking about like praising Hondas and all their weird bullshit. Come on, what the fuck is this? This the whole thing. It's offensive. It's offensive to my ears. It's offensive to Japanese culture. It's just bad. I don't know how to end videos, so instead, how about we just put Thomas humping a keyboard on repeat to some background music. So if you've gotten this far, I'm sorry.